We are back on the record on 23 CF 170, People versus Timothy Bliefnick. Mr. Bliefnick appears in person and with counsel, Ms. Casey Schnock. People appear by Assistant State's Attorney Josh Jones and Laura Keck. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I'm going to remind you again about the cell phone policy. You're allowed to have cell phones, but if you're in the courtroom, they must be turned off. Off means off. Off does not mean vibrate. Off does not mean airplane mode. Off means off. So if you have your cell phone with you and it's not turned off, you'll have a couple minutes to turn it off again, because that phone has to be put away, and if security sees you with your cell phone out or your cell phone goes off and security can tell that, then they're going to ask you to leave, and then you will not be allowed back in until the next day. So please, if you've got your cell phone on, turn it off. The only people allowed to have their devices out and using them is the media, and they must have their media ID on so we can tell them, so security can tell that they're media, and security will not hassle you then. And with that, Mr. Jones, is there any reason that we shouldn't bring in the jury?
No, the people are ready, Your Honor.
Ms. Schnock?
Ready, Your Honor.
Let's bring in the jury. All right.
The session of the court is now reconvened. Down to Robert K. Adrian, judge presiding. You may be seated.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We are continuing with the prosecution's case in chief. And Mr. Jones, do you have additional evidence?
I do, Your Honor. The people would call Kelly Leapley to the stand.
Ma'am, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom, please. And if you will raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in a cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes.
Okay, if you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. And then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable and bend that microphone down so it's in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please. You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name?
Kelly Lepley,
And how do you spell your last name, Miss Lepley?
Lepley.
I'm gonna have you slow down just a little bit. You're talking as fast as I talk sometimes, okay?
Okay.
Can you tell me, Miss Lepley, where you currently live? What state do you live in?
Pennsylvania.
When did you ever live in Quincy, Illinois?
Last year, I stayed for 1 year here,
Do you remember
approximately.
when you moved to Quincy?
2021,
And how long did you stay in Quincy?
about a year.
In that time that you were in Quincy, Where did you live? What was the address?
1637 Hampshire Street.
Is that a house, an apartment? What kind of?
It's an upstairs apartment.
And while you were living at 1634 Hampshire, where were you working?
Quincy Medical Group.
Were you also studying at the time?
Yeah, I went to school for equine massage on the side.
While you were living at 1637 Hampshire in 2021, 2022, did you have a next door neighbor that you knew?
Yeah, Tim.
And was that Tim Bliefnick?
Mm,
Sorry, I got to answer you.
yes, sorry.
It's okay. Do you see the person you know as Tim Bliefnick here in court?
Yes.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Brown shirt.
We'd ask that the record reflect he's identified the defendant as Tim Bliefnick.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
When you first met Tim, how did you know him?
Just neighbors at first.
And did that change?
Yeah,
How long did it take from when you first met him to when that relationship changed?
approximately like 6 months.
Tell me about how that changed.
I started going to his house. He would come to mine occasionally.
And when he would come to your house or you would go to his house, would you have sex with him?
Yes.
I want to talk then about February 22nd of 2023, okay?
Yes.
On February 22nd of 2023, were you still living at 1637 Hampshire in that apartment?
February 22nd?
February 22nd.
No.
Where were you living?
Pennsylvania? No.
Before you moved to Pennsylvania in February, were you living at that apartment?
Yes.
And on,
Mr. Jones, I think you stated the wrong year, maybe.
what did I say?
You said 2023.
No, it's 2023,
okay.
Your Honor. Yeah, February 22nd of 20, like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Were you living on Hampshire?
Yes.
Okay. And on February 22nd of 2023, did you receive a text message from Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
If I could approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 79, and it's 3 pieces of paper. I want you to look at those. When you've had a chance to look at those, let me know, okay?
Yes, those are correct.
Let me ask a question, okay? The pieces of paper that you have, are those text messages between yourself and the defendant, Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
Do those text messages show a phone number, or 2 phone numbers, in fact?
Yes.
And one of those phone numbers on the bottom, is that your phone number?
Yes.
And the phone number above that one, is it the defendant's phone number?
Yes.
And there are dates and times?
Yes.
Do those dates and times match up with your memory of when the text messages would have been received?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 79 be introduced into evidence and leave to publish during the course of my examination.
Any objection other than the objection that we've heard pre-trial? Ms. Schnock.
No other objection other than that, Your Honor.
That objection will be overruled for the same reasons the court stated previously, and 79 will be admitted, and you may publish it.
So up on the screen is a text message, and the date is February 22nd, 2023, and the time is 12:43 p.m. Is that right, Ms. Sleepley?
Yes.
And at 12:43 p.m., did you receive a text message from the defendant, Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
That text message says, "I'm here solo, kids are in school, so come on over." Did I read that right?
Yes.
Did you reply to that text message?
Yes.
You go forward. On February 22nd, 2023, at 12:48 a.m., did you send a text message to the defendant, Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
And that message was, "Okie dokie, I'll be over in like 15 minutes." Did I read that right?
Yes.
And then approximately at 1 p.m., did you get a message from the defendant that said, "See you in a few"?
Yes.
After you got that text message at 1 o'clock, did you in fact go over to the defendant's house?
Yes.
And you went over there about 15 or 20 minutes later?
Yes.
So that would have been around 1:15, 1:20 in the afternoon, fair to say?
Yes.
What was the purpose of you going over there?
Sex.
You were going to have sex with the defendant.
Yes.
And did you in fact have sex with the defendant?
Yes.
And you were in his house after 1:20 for approximately 15 minutes to half an hour?
Yes.
And after you had sex with him for those 15 minutes to half an hour, you left?
Yes.
Do you know what the defendant did after that?
No, I do not.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all the questions I have. Oh, no, you can't leave.
Wait, you have to stay seated. Okay. Ms. Schnock?
Ma'am, you never went over to Tim's house when his kids were there, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, he never came to your house when his kids were with him, correct?
Correct.
No other questions, Judge.
Okay, anything else?
No, Your Honor, we would release Ms. Leafley from her subpoena.
Okay, ma'am. Now you may stand up and you're free to go. If you could call your next witness.
Your Honor, the people would call James Brown.
Officer, if you step up to the front of the courtroom, raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Have a seat right here. You will scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, bend the microphone in front of you, and speak towards the microphone, please. And you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell us your name, please?
James Brown.
How are you employed?
I am a detective sergeant with the Quincy Police Department.
Were you involved as a detective sergeant in the investigation of the murder of Becky Bliefnick?
I was.
Was one of your responsibilities to do search warrants for various electronics that may be involved and may be helpful for the case?
It was.
I want to go through some of the different things that you did, okay?
Okay.
In your investigation, did you first attempt to determine if there was any video surveillance that Becky Bliefnick had?
I did.
Were you successful in obtaining any video surveillance that Becky Bliefnick may have had?
No.
She had a ring camera, correct?
She did.
Based on your training and experience, why were you not able to obtain any of the videos from her ring camera?
I had submitted a search warrant to the company. They advised there was no saved audio or saved video files. Basically, from my training and experience, that's often the time when somebody doesn't pay for a subscription that you'll have a video system that it's kind of freeware, freemium, that it'll look live on your phone and alert you to live video, but it doesn't record unless you pay a monthly fee for it.
So based on that, there was no surveillance video we could obtain from Becky Bliefnick's home.
Correct.
Did you also look into whether or not there was any video surveillance from the defendant's home at 1641 Hampshire?
I did.
Was that successful either?
It was not.
Similarly, there was no usable video surveillance from his home, correct?
Correct.
Did you also look into whether or not Becky Bliefnick had any Amazon devices that may have any information?
I did.
What specifically did you try to get information from?
There was an Amazon Echo or Alexa type of device that would normally have passive listening on it. I sent a search warrant off to Amazon looking for any possible saved audio files that would have been captured. They advised there were no saved audio files available.
That has to be activated by the person saying something, correct?
Correct. Usually there's a trigger word to start the recordings.
Which did not occur apparently in this case.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about the search warrants that were successful, okay?
Okay?
Sergeant Brown, I'm going to hand you what we marked as People's Exhibit 163. Did you get information as to Becky Bliefnick's phone number?
Yes.
And what was that cell phone number?
217-316-4616.
Based on that, did you then submit a search warrant for any records that AT&T may have for that phone number?
I did.
And can you tell us what People's Exhibit, I believe it's 163 is?
It is 163. It's a DVD of AT&T's search warrant response that they had provided me, as well as a affidavit of business records signed and notarized for those records.
Your Honor, I ask that People's Exhibit 163 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
Will be admitted.
When we receive records from AT&T, do they provide you with a cover sheet showing any information as to who the subscriber is?
They do.
Your Honor, I'd ask to publish information from People's Exhibit 163, specifically the subscriber page from those records.
May be published.
Sergeant Brown, this is the cover page that you received for those records for that phone number of 217-316-4616, correct?
Correct.
And in looking at that, it showed that the name on the account was Rebecca Bliefnick at 2528 Kentucky Road.
It does.
Thank you. Did you similarly also obtain records for the phone number that you had as potentially the defendant's phone?
I did.
I'm handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 164. Can you tell us what phone number you submitted records for?
217-257-3666.
And did you receive a response?
I did.
And is People's Exhibit 164 the response you received from AT&T for those records?
It is.
And does that contain also a business records affidavit?
It does, signed and notarized.
Your Honor, we ask that People's Exhibit 164 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
164 will be admitted.
Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to publish portions of those records for the jury.
You may publish them.
Sergeant Brown, when you obtained records for that phone number, did they also come back with a name? In this case, it said Tim Bliefnick, 1641 Hampshire Street, Quincy, Illinois.
It did.
And that also contained information of a Gmail of timbliefnick@gmail.com.
It did.
Did you then also look further at those records?
I did.
And those records contained information as far as phone calls that that phone number had made or received?
Correct.
We can go to that next page. Specifically, Sergeant Brown, I want to talk to you about records from February 13th to the 14th on the defendant's cell phone records. And when you obtained those records, now I first want to ask you, so we have here, we have these dates, correct?
Correct?
And we have times.
Yes.
Now, those times say UTC right there.
Yes.
Based on your, how long have you been a law enforcement officer?
24 and a half years.
And again, your responsibility in this case was to obtain records for all these different search warrants, correct?
Correct.
Are you familiar with what UTC time is?
I am.
Can you tell the jury what that means?
Abbreviation for Coordinated Universal Time. It is a 24-hour world time standard that is comprised of data from over 400 atomic clocks around the world and information regarding the Earth's rotation. It is the basis for our time standards, such as Central Standard, Eastern Mountain. So it's a basis for the world to be on the exact same time to the second, to the tick, actually.
So when we see UTC time, you know that you have to convert that to Central Standard Time or Quincy, Illinois time, correct?
That is
When you
correct.
get these records. So how do you convert UTC time to Central Standard Time or Quincy, Illinois time?
So it would be minus 6 hours unless it's daylight savings time, would be minus 5.
And in February of 2023, it would be minus 6 hours, is that correct?
Correct?
So for example, if we see 00:02:39, that's like 12:02 a.m.
Correct?
We subtract 6 from that, and it's actually 6:02 and 39 seconds.
That's correct.
Or if we see, and they do it, it's in what we call commonly military time, right?
24-hour format, yes.
So 1810 is in universal time, 6:10 p.m. We subtract 6, that's 12:10 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. Sergeant Brown, I want to just show you on February 14th, 2023, there was a phone call that was made at 7:32:35 seconds, universal time, UTC time. What time is that in Central Standard Time?
So it'd be 1:32
A.M.
a.m. Correct.
And that was a phone call for 1 minute and 8 seconds from two, and the first number is always the calling number, so from 217-257-3666, which is the defendant's phone number, correct?
Correct?
And that was made to
Correct.
also, we looked at some phone records from February 20th to 22nd, correct?
Yes.
And reviewing those, we see, again, the 20th, 21st, go forward, Mr. Jones, 22nd, 23rd, go forward one more. And specifically, I want to talk to you about some records on February 23rd, 2023. When you were reviewing this, did you have information that the defendant had made a phone call to St. Peter's School?
Yes.
Did you then look to see if that phone call also showed up on the defendant's phone records?
I did, and it was.
And if we look here, 17:51:34 seconds. Again, we subtract 6 hours. That's at 11:51 a.m. and 34 seconds. Correct?
Correct.
And that was a 53-second call from the defendant's phone to.
Correct.
What is that phone number to?
St. Peter's.
Did you also look at additional records on the afternoon of February 23rd, 2023?
Yes.
Specifically, did you have information from the victim's father, Bill Postal, about phone calls that he attempted to make to the defendant?
Yes.
And specifically, did you find a call on February 23rd, 2023 at 21:06:42, which we switched that to UTC time, was at 3:06 p.m., and that shows it was 25 seconds.
Correct.
And from these records, we don't know if the person answered or not. We just know that the phone did something for 25 seconds when that phone call was made.
Correct.
And that phone call was made to the defendant's phone.
That's correct.
Based on your investigation, whose phone number is?
William Postal.
Did you also observe a phone call that was made from the defendant's phone to William Postal's phone later that afternoon again?
Yes.
That number, or that phone call was February 23rd, 2023 at 22:14:31, which again, we turn that into UTC time, was at 4:14 and 31 seconds, is that correct?
Correct?
And that was for 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
Correct.
And again, that number, that was a phone call from the defendant's phone to a number that you knew to be Bill Postal's number.
That's correct.
Did you also learn that Becky Bliefnick had an ABT system?
I did.
Tell us what ABT is.
Just a home security system. Company?
Her security system did not have video surveillance, correct?
Correct.
Did you learn that it did actually record activity of sensors to different doors or windows, or, I'm sorry, not windows, doors and garages of her house?
Yes.
Did you obtain a search warrant for those ABT records?
I did.
Sergeant Brown, I've handed you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 176. Can you tell us what that is?
This would be a DVD of the search warrant return, the data from ADT that they gave me in response to my search warrant, as well as a signed and notarized business record certification or affidavit.
We'd ask that People's Exhibit 176 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schneider?
No, Your Honor.
176 will be admitted.
Your Honor, we'd ask permission to publish parts of the records that we received from ADT in People's Exhibit 176.
You may publish it.
Sergeant Brown, again, just like AT&T, ADT provides you a cover sheet with the user information. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And when you received that back, it showed that customer information was Rebecca Bliefnick.
Correct?
She had obtained this security system on February 4th, 2021,
Correct?
and that was for 2528 Kentucky Road
Yes.
with a phone number of 316-4616, the same AT&T phone number that you determined was Becky Bliefnick's.
Correct?
Did you then, as I said, look at those records a little bit further?
I did.
In looking at these records, we see that it starts at the bottom and gives multiple dates, is that right?
Yes.
As well as multiple times, again, going backwards from back to February 19th, going closer in time, all the way to February 16th. Is that right?
19th to the 23rd of
I'm sorry,
February.
Yes, February 20, yes, the 19th to February 23rd.
Correct.
In reviewing the records, we see several times it says modem paying more info. What is that?
From my understanding and training experience, that would be just when the system, the sensors or whatever it is sending information back to the control hubs or the main system, just technical data.
So verify it's working.
Yes,
So there's no alerts or anything like that.
correct.
And in this case, there was no activity on Becky Bliefnick's ABT system from February 19th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, other than that modem being all the way till until February 21st at 11:03. Is that right?
Correct.
Did that correlate with information that you and other officers obtained that she was out of town during that time?
Yes.
Did you also look at where at 3:27, did you also look at the early morning hours of February 23rd, 2023?
I did.
When you looked at that, was there an alert at 1:12 a.m. that the front door had been opened?
Yes.
And at 1:27 a.m., an alert also went off that the front door was still open and had been open for 15 minutes, so another alert comes in.
Correct.
Go back, Mr. Jones, thank you. Did you also, to ensure that the times were working, look at these other times and see that on February 23rd, 2023 at 15:27 or 3:27 p.m., the garage door had been opened, which was, did that correlate with other things in your investigation?
It did.
And what was that?
That would have been around the same time that Bill Postal arrived at the house and discovered the body.
Did you also, continuing to do additional search warrants,
I did.
did you obtain a search warrant for Becky Bliefnick's Facebook records?
I did.
When obtaining a search warrant for Facebook records, do you have to first try to determine what Facebook account is the person's account that you want to see?
Yes.
Did you receive information as your investigation was going on about what Facebook account family members and friends communicated with her on?
Yes.
People's Exhibit 16. Your Honor, I ask permission to publish People's Exhibit 69 with this witness. It's previously been admitted.
Court will allow you to publish it.
Is this the profile or the account that you received information that this was Becky Bliefnick's Facebook account?
It was.
When you actually look at somebody's Facebook account, the URL or the website for their account has a very specific number. Is that correct? That comes up?
It can either, if you're talking about the Facebook user ID, it can either be the name separated by some periods and then a number, or it can be, it's like a 16 or 18-digit number, I think. It kind of varies.
Did you use that information then to request records from Facebook specifically related to this account?
I did.
And did you receive a response?
I did.
Inspector Brown, handing you People's Exhibit 70. Can you tell us what that is?
This would be the Facebook records returned in response to my search warrant, as well as a signed and notarized business records affidavit.
Your Honor, I ask that People's Exhibit 70 be admitted and introduced into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
Will be admitted.
Your Honor, I'd ask that we publish certain portions of that exhibit, specifically at the cover pages of the user of that account.
You may.
Sergeant Brown, when you received back that information, it had a cover page similar to ADT, similar to AT&T, correct?
Correct.
And that information came back, the name is Becky Bliefnick.
Correct.
It showed 2 registered emails, rebecca.bernadette@gmail.com, as well as becky.postalbliefnick@facebook.com.
That's correct.
We could go to page 2, Mr. Jones. That also showed that the person who used that account was in Quincy, Illinois.
Correct.
And it says that that is the hometown provided by the account holder.
Correct.
It also showed that there was a phone number associated with the account, which was the same phone number that you had obtained AT&T records for Rebecca Bliefnick. Is that correct?
Correct.
It also showed credit cards associated with the account with the name of Becky Bliefnick with zip codes of 62305 and 62301. Is that right?
Correct.
Senator Brown, I want to go back briefly to one thing on the cell phone records. When you received the cell phone records, both for the defendant as well as Becky Bliefnick, they do provide cellular information as to the location of the phone when those phone calls are made. Is that correct?
Some, yes.
Now, is that something that sometimes can be very helpful to an investigation?
It can in some circumstances.
Was it helpful in this case?
It was not.
Tell us why not.
Specifically AT&T, in essence, they didn't get you close enough. There's always an error, what's called an error radius, when you're dealing with geolocation data. In this case, AT&T and most companies will provide what their error radius is. A lot on what I noticed on both the defendant as well as Becky's accounts is that their error radius was around 1,500 or 2,500 meters. which is quite the distance, and I think that their houses were only about 1,300 meters. It's also dependent upon where the towers that they're pinging off of, if you will. So if there's a tower nearby, both residences, the AT&T is just going to keep pinging to that same tower. So if you're talking about small distances, block to block, if you will, this would not be helpful if your area radius is 1,500 or 2,500 meters. If you're wanting to look to see if somebody was going from town to town or the extreme north end of town to the south end of town, then it would have been useful. But in this case, it was not.
Because in this case, both houses were within the error radius.
Correct.
When we talked about the AT&T records, we noticed how those were in UTC time. Were the ADT records in UTC time?
No, they were in Central Standards. Most of the records are, it's noted, and I believe ADT's was noted at the very top that it's in Central Standard.
And you could further determine that it was not UTC time because of the fact where we could correlate exactly when Bill Postal was there, as well as when law enforcement arrived, the notifications were consistent with that. Is that right?
Correct. When we all showed up, it was, looking at the ADT records, it was just doors constantly opening and shutting and garage doors opening, which would correlate with the times that we were all there at the residence.
Sergeant Brown, I want to talk to you about something you did that was not obtained records.
Okay.
Did you also participate in a traffic stop of the defendant?
I did.
And was that pursuant to a warrant, a search warrant?
Yes.
When you did that search warrant allow you to collect any electronic devices?
Yes.
I want to show you what's been marked as, so I'm going to hand you People's Exhibits 157 through 160.
Okay.
Can you tell us, in a general sense, are those pictures that were taken, or I guess screenshots of, from that traffic stop of the defendant?
Yes.
Specifically, does that show those electronic devices at the time before they were seized?
Yes.
Pursuant to that warrant?
Yes.
First, Your Honor, I'd ask that People's Exhibits 157 and 160 through 160 be admitted and published to the jury.
Any objection, Ms. Dunn?
No.
157, 158, 159, and 160 will be admitted and they may be published.
Sergeant Brown, this is a picture of the defendant, is that correct, from that traffic stop?
Correct.
And what do we see on his left wrist?
What was later to be determined to be a Whoop fitness tracker device.
And if we go to picture 158. And in that picture, we also see that Whoop from a little bit more of a distance on the defendant's wrist, is that correct?
Correct?
Was that Whoop later seized?
It was.
And I'm handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 156. Can you tell us what that is?
This would be the Whoop fitness device that I took off of the defendant on that day.
Your Honor, I ask that People's Exhibit 156 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Dunn?
No.
Will be admitted.
You said that you also obtained a phone during that execution of that warrant, is that right?
Yes.
Where was that phone located that day?
Within the defendant's vehicle.
We could show People's Exhibit 159, please. And this is a picture of the defendant's vehicle or the inside, is that correct?
Correct?
And that phone was sitting on the passenger side of the vehicle, is that right?
Correct?
when that traffic stop occurred, was there any other person inside the vehicle?
No.
And in fact, was the defendant asked where his phone was?
I believe so by Detective Cowick.
And did he indicate that it was inside his car on the passenger seat?
Yes,
Was that phone then seized?
it was.
Sergeant Brown, I'm handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 218. Can you tell us what that is?
So you, white iPhone in black OtterBox case?
And was that the phone that was seized on that particular day?
Yes,
Both that phone and that Whoop Fitness armband, those were seized on March 1st, 2023, is that right?
that is correct.
Now, when you examined People's Exhibit 156, did you determine that there was a specific assigned number to that Whoop arm fitness band?
Yes, there was a serial number or source, some sort of number printed on the side of the device.
Your Honor, I'd ask that we show what we marked as People's Exhibit 156, which is basically a picture of what the defendant, or I'm sorry, the witness is holding in his hand.
You may publish that.
Sergeant Brown, this is, again, that same evidence bag that you're holding in your hand, is that right?
That's correct.
And that Whoop Fitness band, on there is a specific note where it says 4A054244.
That is correct.
And that is, as you said, specifically assigned to that particular Whoop that was on the defendant's wrist.
Yes.
Did you later obtain a search warrant for all of the records associated with that Whoop?
I did.
Sergeant Brown, I'm handing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 161. Is that the records that you obtained when you had that search warrant sent to the company for Whoop?
It is.
Your Honor, I ask that People's Exhibit 161 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnott?
No.
It will be admitted.
Your Honor, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Questions, Ms. Schnott?
Thank you. Sergeant Brown, I want to start by talking with you about the search warrants that were unsuccessful, okay?
Okay.
And you referenced several, and I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page with you, okay? There were certain surveillance cameras that were found at Tim's residence on Hampshire Street, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what brand or type of surveillance cameras those were?
I think, if I remember right, there was possibly two different types, mainly Ring, which would be a Google brand type device.
And was there also a Nest or other type of camera that you found at Tim's house?
Well, that would be the same. There were ADT signs.
Okay, but there was no ADT account associated with Tim's residence?
That is correct.
Okay, and am I correct that the search warrant that you sent to Ring with respect to Tim's house did not give you any useful results, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then there was also search warrants sent with respect to Ring at Becky's house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then there was also an Echo device, which is an Amazon device, correct?
Correct.
And the search warrant to Amazon for the Echo device yielded no useful results, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know why Ring was unable to return any useful footage from Tim's house?
From both what the defendant told me and what they only returned two still images, and there was nothing else there. And from what the defendant told me, they were, at the time of the traffic stop, I think he made a comment that most of them weren't hooked up anymore and weren't working or something of that nature.
Okay. Were there also warrants sent to Adams Telephone Systems?
Yes.
Okay, and were there also warrants sent out for some computer, Quincy Recycle and Quincy Farm Products computer.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you also request Adams County IT staff and request any useful footage from Adams County court proceedings that Tim and Becky may have been involved in, correct?
I did.
Okay, and Adams County IT did not give you any useful footage, is that also correct?
I never received any, no.
Okay. Do you know what the significance is of the ID number on that Whoop band? And I don't want you to assume or guess, I'm just asking if you know.
I mean, I guess no.
Okay, that's fair. And as far as the AT&T records are concerned, the only thing that those records really show is that a call is made to a specific number by a specific number. Is that fair? It shows that the call was made.
It shows technical data,
Okay.
but it doesn't show content or anything.
So you can't tell from these records if a call was answered or not?
I don't believe so.
Okay. It shows that a call was made and the duration that that call lasted.
Correct.
Okay. As far as your other involvement in this case is concerned, on February 23rd, you would have been present at Tim's house at 1641 Hampshire for a period of about 2 hours. Does that sound about right?
Approximately, yes.
Did you get there at about 6:30?
If that's what my report reflects, yes.
Okay, and did you leave around 8:30?
Sounds about right.
Okay. During your involvement at 1641 Hampshire, you never offered Mr. Bliefnick gunshot residue testing, correct?
Did I?
Yes.
No.
Okay, do you know if any other officer did?
I don't know for sure. I was more just standing by to assist as needed.
All right, that's fair. And while you were there, did Tim make a call to a friend to make arrangements to have somebody pick up the kids?
Yes.
Okay, and you and other Quincy police officers allowed for that, correct?
Correct.
At some point that evening, were you around when a request was made for Becky's passcode for her phone?
I might have been. I can't recall the
That's fair.
scenario.
That's fair. And during your traffic stop at 20th and Hampshire, that would have been conducted shortly before 8 a.m. on March 1st, correct?
Correct.
And during the search, he told you where 2 safe keys were, as well as an activation card for the gun safe in his bedroom, correct?
Correct.
And he also advised you that there was a broken shotgun in the basement with a live round in it, correct?
He did.
And he also provided you 2 possible passcodes for the garage, correct?
Yes.
And when asked about where his cell phone was that day, he told you where it was, and it was where he said it was, correct?
I believe that conversation was between him and Detective Cowick, but from my understanding, yes.
Okay. And at any point during the traffic stop at 20th and Hampshire were Tim's shoes taken?
He was given a courtesy ride from the scene, and I believe the shoes were taken at that time, not necessarily right there, but yes.
Okay, but during that search, the shoes that he was wearing on March 1st were taken?
Yes.
And do you know what kind of shoes those were?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know if any other shoes were collected during this search?
From the traffic stop, no.
And as far as the traffic stop is concerned, Tim was compliant with the request of officers, is that fair?
Yes.
No other questions, Judge?
Ms. Keck?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sergeant Brown, that number, that, I guess, the letter number combination that was on the Whoop, that's what you used to obtain the search warrant for the Whoop data, is that correct?
Correct.
When you received that back, did it have specific identifying information on it?
It did.
Specifically, did it identify itself as specifically as the user as Tim Lee?
Yes.
No other questions, Your Honor?
Before you step down, officer, I don't show that 218 was offered into evidence. Did the people mean to offer that into evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, we would ask that that be admitted.
Okay, and that's the defendant's cell phone that was seized?
Yes.
Ms. Schnock, any objection?
No.
Okay, that will be admitted. And then you may step down. Okay. Call your next witness.
People would call Christine Moore.
Okay, and while we're waiting, we're going to stand up and stretch then.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And if you could step up a little bit closer, raise your right hand, and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, if you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. Then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, and then bend that microphone down and speak towards the microphone, please.
Okay.
You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Christine Moore.
What do you do for a living?
I'm not currently employed.
Do you have some children?
Yes,
And where do you live? Not an address, but where?
Quincy.
How long have you lived in Quincy?
Just around 16 years, 15 years, something like that.
Did you know someone by the name of Becky Bliefnick?
Yes.
How did you know her?
I became acquainted with her when she worked with my husband at Blessing.
Your husband is a doctor at Blessing, is that right?
Correct.
And how did Becky work at Blessing?
They worked together in the surgery center.
You said you were friends with Becky?
Correct.
As friends, did you guys call each other, text each other?
Yes.
And did you do that on your phone?
Right. Yeah.
And then when you would message with Becky, would she send you text messages?
Yes.
And you would send them back to her?
Yes.
Were you familiar with Becky's phone number?
Yes.
And was it saved in your phone as Becky Bliefnick?
Yes.
How many times would you say over the course of your friendship would you have messaged with Becky?
Too many to count?
Did you also talk with her on the phone?
Yes.
And when she would call you on the phone, would it come up with her name and phone number?
Yes.
And you would answer and you would hear somebody on the other side of that phone conversation and you knew it was Becky?
Yes.
Did you receive some messages from Becky in May of 2021?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 76.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to look at those. And can you tell me, do you recognize those messages?
Yes.
Are those messages that you received from Becky Bliefnick on May 7th of 2021?
Yes.
Your Honor, pursuant to the court's previous ruling, we would ask that People's Exhibit 76 be admitted into evidence over the previous objection of the defense.
Okay, Ms. Knock, you are objecting?
What? I'm sorry.
You're, okay.
Yes, I'm renewing my ongoing objection,
Right.
but nothing
The-
new.
The court will overrule that objection. That objection was heard pre-trial. The court overruled it and would overrule it at this point on for the same reasons that the court stated pre-trial. And you may, it's 76 be admitted and you may publish it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, is what is on the screen what you have in front of you, People's Exhibit 76? Is that right?
Yes.
And is that the message that you received from Becky Bliefnick on May 21st, 2021 at 3:36 p.m.?
May 7th,
What did I say?
21st?
May 7th. Thank you. Because it says it right up there, right?
Correct.
May 7th,
Correct.
2021.
Correct.
3:36. It'd be nice if I could read. Could you go forward one slide, please? And ma'am, in the middle of that message, did she say to you, did she message to you, he has screamed in my face, shoved me in front of the kids, and has thrown things across the room where the kids and I were standing, punched a hole in the wall. If things really don't go his way, I feel he can be very unstable and unpredictable. And the thought has gone through my mind on if I may need a restraining order. I'm definitely changing the locks as soon as I can. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
In the context of that message, did you know who she was referring to?
Yes.
And who was she referring to?
Tim?
Did you know Tim Bliefnick at that time?
Yes.
Is Tim Bliefnick here in court today?
Yes.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Right there, wearing a brown pullover zip-up.
Your Honor, we'd ask that the record reflect she's identified with.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
In the course of that same conversation, did she send a message to you that said the following? The only way to ensure all three choose him over me is to eliminate me as a choice.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all the questions. I'm sorry, one second. Thank you, ma'am. That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Schnock?
Thank you. Ms. Moore, I just have a few questions for you, okay?
Sure.
All right, how long have you known Tim?
I think I first met Tim probably when I did Becky, probably about 5 years ago,
Okay, and would Tim and Becky ever hang out socially with you and your husband?
on occasion.
Okay, and when did that stop?
When did it stop? I don't remember exactly.
Okay, has it been a few years since you last saw Tim in person?
No.
Okay, when was the last time you ever interacted with Tim in person?
He was the coach of my son's football team this past fall.
Okay.
One of the coaches. Sorry.
Okay, that's fair. And then as far as this message is concerned, this was sent to you on May 7th, 2021, correct?
The date that was on there, yes.
Yes. And so as we sit here today, that was 2 years ago, correct?
Sounds correct.
And at the time that message was sent, it was only 4 or 5 months after the divorce had been filed, correct?
I don't remember the exact date the divorce was filed.
Okay, but it was sent while the divorce was ongoing, is that fair?
Sounds fair.
Okay. Do you know if you know, say, if you don't, that's okay too. Do you know if this was early on in the divorce that she sent this to you?
I want to say the divorce was filed sometime early that year, so it seems like it would have been early, but I'm not completely certain.
Okay. You never helped Becky get a restraining order of protection against him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you never filed any police reports on her behalf, correct?
Correct.
No other questions, Judge?
Questions?
No, Your Honor. We will release her from her subpoena.
All right, you may step down. You are free to go.
She is, she can be released.
Your Honor, I've spoken with Ms. Schnock, and both parties have agreed to release her from the subpoena.
Okay, you're free to go. Another witness, Mr. Jones or Ms. Keck?
Judge, the people would call Nicole Bateman.
Yeah. Sure. The later stop is important. Here we go, 1547.
Ma'am, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom. And then raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, if you'll come around here, have a seat right here in this chair. Then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, and then bend that microphone in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please.
Okay.
You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name?
My name is Nicole Bateman,
Ms. Bateman, where do you currently live?
Decatur, Illinois.
Ms. Bateman, what do you do for a living?
Economic development
Indicator?
in Decatur.
How long have you done?
8 years.
Ms. Bateman, did you know someone by the name of Becky Bliefnick?
I did.
How did you know that?
She was my childhood friend. We've known each other for 35 years.
Did you used to live in Quincy, Illinois?
I did.
And how long did you live in Quincy?
I moved away when I was 20.
So from birth until 20, you hung out with Becky?
Yes,
And then after that, your friendship continued?
absolutely.
Did you and Becky talk regularly on the phone?
Yes, until technology changed, and then much of it was text.
And you had a cell phone and she had a cell phone?
Yes,
You would text and you would talk over those cell phones?
yes,
Were you familiar with Becky's phone number?
yes,
And was her phone number 316-4616?
yes,
In the course of that friendship with her, did you also know Tim Bliefnick, her husband?
yes,
Is he here in court today?
yes, he is.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Yes, he is wearing a brown three-quarter zip pullover.
We'd ask that the record reflect she has identified the defendant as Tim Bliefnick.
The record will reflect that the defendant, or that the witness has identified the defendant.
I want to talk to you about some text messages that you and Becky had on Sunday, May 9th, 2021, okay?
Okay.
If I could.
You may.
Ms. Bateman, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 77. Tell me when you've had a chance to look at it.
Yes,
Do you recognize that document?
yes, I do.
Are those in fact text messages between yourself and Miss Becky Postal?
Yes, they are.
And in fact, does the top of that say Becky Postal?
Yes, it does.
You've communicated with her from your cell phone with that name multiple times.
Yes,
She shared with you information that only Becky Postal would know.
yes,
You've talked to her when the phone rang, when that name came up, and you've talked to her and you've recognized her voice on that phone.
yes,
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 77 be admitted into evidence and published to the jury.
Ms. Knockover, objection?
Correct, Your Honor.
Over previous objection, the court will admit number 77, will deny the objection for the same reasons given pre-trial.
Ms. Kent, if you go to the first call. At the top of those messages, we see a name, is that right?
yes.
And what's the name?
Becky Postal.
Is that how you always knew Becky?
Yes.
Did she ever have a different last name?
She took Bliefnick as her last name after marriage.
And did you change that in your phone at some point?
I changed it after their divorce started.
You changed it? to
I changed
Becky.
it back to her maiden name, Becky Postal.
And the date of these messages was Sunday, May 9th, 2021 at 8:43 p.m. Is that right?
Yes,
You can go to the next call. Did you receive a message from your friend Becky Postal that said, Tim told me if I outed his dad, that he, Ray, would probably have to move, and then he would kill himself?
yes,
Did she later tell you, and yes, I absolutely worry he will try to take the kids sometime, especially if I get awarded the custody I want. He will be pissed, and he will do whatever he feels like doing.
Yes.
Did you have a different text message conversation with your friend Becky Postal on September 8th, 2021?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 78. I'll hand that to you and ask you to let me know when you've had a chance to look at that.
Yes.
Do you recognize those messages?
Yes, I do.
Are those messages that were sent to you on that date, again, by your friend Becky Postal?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 78 be introduced into evidence based on that same foundation.
Over objection of defendant on the previously stated reasons, the court will admit number 78 over objection.
We'd ask leave to publish, Your Honor.
May publish.
If you can go to the first call out. Again, at the top of these messages, we again see that name of Becky Postal and the date of September 8, 2021 at 3:03 p.m. Is that when you received those messages?
Yes.
First call out, please. Did your friend Becky tell you, on top of that, a friend and coworker of mine from the ER was murdered last Friday by her ex?
Yes.
Did she later tell you in that same conversation, yes, I literally had a panic attack Friday night, thinking Tim is going to come after me and do the same if he continues to not get his way. If he's crazy enough to file this OOP and make all this crap up and blame it on me, what else is he willing to do? Did she send you that message?
Yes.
But I told my lawyer I either want an OOP for myself and the kids, or at least make a statement in court and on the record that I am scared of what he might do, and his erratic behavior and constant lies facilitate the need for protection. On top of the fact that he has all our guns and ammunition, including mine. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And again, was that a message that was sent to you by your friend, Becky Postal?
Yes.
Ma'am, after receiving those messages, you didn't call the police, did you?
I did not.
You didn't appear in court and testify for Becky, did you?
No.
You didn't call an attorney and express anything to them as well, did you?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all the questions I have.
You're welcome.
Ms. Stock?
Thank you. Ms. Bateman, when was the last time you would have seen Tim?
The last time I saw Tim was on December 27th, 2019.
Okay. And that was before the divorce was even filed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is it your information that the divorce was filed in early 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And so the message that was sent to you May 9th of 2021 was not long after the divorce was filed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as the message that was sent on September 8th is concerned, at this point, that was about a year and a half ago, or 6 months ago?
No, that was September 8th, 2021.
2021, okay, so that was a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Okay. And you were childhood friends with Becky, correct?
Yes.
Did you reach out to her parents about these messages?
No.
No other questions, Judge.
Additional questions?
Just one question. Ms. Bateman, do you wish you would have?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
All right, you may step down. free to go, Mr. Jones?
We would release your reverse subpoena.
Okay, is defendant?
She's free to
All
go.
right, you're free to go. Thank you, ma'am. Have another quick one?
Preference for in-law or-
I don't care.
I think, Your Honor, we've been going for a while. It's probably a good time to take
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our afternoon break. We will break for 20 minutes, so we will start back at 2:30.
All rise.
Mr. Jones, anything we need to take up before we break?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Anything from defendant, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll be in recess. We are back on the record on 23 CF 170, People versus Timothy Bliefnick. Mr. Bliefnick appears in person and with counsel, Ms. Casey Schnock. People appear by Assistant State's Attorneys Josh Jones and Laura Keck. And we should be ready to bring in the jury. Anything from the people before we bring in the jury, Mr. Jones?
No, Your Honor, again, just as far as housekeeping, we brought 2 additional witnesses up this afternoon. So we have 5 more witnesses for today. We had 3, but obviously we're at 2:30 and things are going faster. So I have 2 more witnesses that we can put on today. So we're not hopefully stopping at 3 o'clock.
All right, that sounds good. Ms. Schnock, anything from the defense side?
No, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring in the jury.
All rise. Session of the court is now reconvened. You may be seated.
All right, we are still on the prosecution case in chief, and the people have additional witnesses. Mr. Jones?
People would call Amber Whitler, Your Honor.
Oh.
Ma'am, if you'd step up to the front of the courtroom. All right, and then raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, now if you come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. And kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable and bend that microphone so it's in front of you, and please speak towards the microphone.
Okay.
And you may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Amber Whitler,
Can you spell that last name for us?
Wittler.
Ms. Whitler,
I'm a surgical first assistant at Blessing Hospital Surgery Center.
Did you know Becky Bliefnick?
Yes, I did.
When did you meet Becky?
I can't remember the exact date. I think it was around 2016 at school at John Wood Community College.
Was that in nursing school with Becky?
I wasn't in nursing school, but yes, we're doing our prereqs.
Did you then later work with her?
I did.
Where did you work with her at?
At Blessing Surgery Center in the GI department.
Did you continue to have regular contact with her after you no longer worked together?
Yes, we did.
What type of contact did you have with her?
We would see each other passing at work because she still worked for Blessing Hospital. And every once in a while, we would send a text just checking on each other.
Was there a time that you saw her in passing at work one time at Blessing Hospital where she talked with you about the divorce?
A lot of times.
I want to talk to you about one time in particular at the end of 2021, okay? And during that time, do you remember it being kind of cold outside?
Yes.
So fair to say it was probably sometime in winter of 2021.
Yes.
Did that time when you were passing in the hallway, did she give you some information about her ongoing divorce?
Yes.
Did she tell you in particular that she wanted to change the locks, but Tim wouldn't let her?
Yes.
Did she also tell you in that conversation that if anything ever happens to me, it was Tim?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
For the record, those statements was allowed allowed over objection of the defendant at a prior hearing. The court overruled the objection, and so the court would note that objection to that testimony would again overrule that objection, and those statements will be admitted for the same reasons as the court gave previously. And then Ms. Schnock, you may inquire.
Thank you. Ma'am, what were the dates that you worked with Becky in the GI department?
I can't recall the exact dates. I got hired at the GI department on 2016, I believe.
Okay, and when did you leave the GI department?
I never left. I'm still there.
Do you remember when Becky left the GI department? Or
I
when you
can't
no longer
recall.
saw her at the GI department?
I can't recall the date on that.
And this conversation that you said you and Becky had together was sometime at the end of 2021, correct?
Yes.
And that was some time ago, correct?
Yes.
And that was when the parties were approximately a year into their divorce, a little bit less, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know Tim personally?
I do not.
Have you ever met Tim personally?
I have a couple of times. There was a birthday party we went to.
And how long ago was that?
I can't remember.
No other questions, Judge?
Anything further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You may step down.
All right, thank you.
Then is she released?
We would release her, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Ma'am, you're free to go. Call your next witness.
People would call Rebecca Becky Spots to the stand.
Ma'am, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom and then raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
And if you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. Then if you'll scoot up kind of to the table to where you're comfortable, and then bend that microphone so it's in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please. You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name?
Becky Spots?
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you to scoot up just a little bit more. All right.
Let's try it again. Can you tell me your name?
Becky Spots.
Everybody here, okay? Becky, I'm gonna ask you to try to do it one more time, because I think some people are still having a hard time.
Okay. Becky Spots. Better. Okay.
Ms. Spots, do you live in Quincy?
I do.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a speech language pathologist at Blessing Hospital.
In that role at Blessing Hospital, did you develop a friendship with an individual that you knew as Becky or Rebecca Postal?
I actually met Becky more than 10 years ago through CrossFit, but yes, we were friends at the hospital as well.
You said you knew her through CrossFit?
Yes. Mhm.
Did you become friends with her?
Yes.
Were you in fact friends on social media accounts?
Yes.
Is one of those social media accounts where you and Becky were friends was one of those Facebook?
Yes.
Were you familiar with Becky's Facebook page?
I was.
Did you see her posts on a regular basis?
Yes.
Did you see pictures that she would post of herself and her children?
Yes.
Did you message with Becky over Facebook?
I did. Yes.
More than once?
Several times. Yes.
When you would message with Becky over Facebook, would she share things with you?
Yes.
Share information that only Becky would know?
Yes.
Tell you stories about her kids, what was going on in her life?
Yes.
Is that all fair to say?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you 2 pages of an exhibit. They're both marked People's 75. I'm going to ask you to look at those and tell me when you've had a chance to look at those.
Okay.
Do you recognize those?
I do.
Are those messages that were sent to you by your friend Rebecca Becky Postal?
Yes.
Did you receive those on June 4th of 2021?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask, again, pursuant to the court's previous ruling, that People's Exhibit 75 be introduced in evidence.
Over objection, 75 will be admitted for the same reasons as stated pre-trial. You may then publish them.
At the top of the screen, do you see a name on that Facebook messenger?
Yes. Becky's.
And do you see a picture?
Yes.
And who's it a picture of?
It's Becky
Becky.
Bliefnick.
And is that a picture that you're familiar with?
Yes.
Was it a picture that was on Becky's Facebook?
Yes.
On June 4th, 2021 at 6:59 a.m., did you receive the following message from Becky Bliefnick? I'm wanting to never have my children around them alone ever again.
Yes.
And in that message, was it clear to you that she was referring to the defendant's father?
Yes. Right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
In that same message on June 4th, 2021, did she tell you, it has gotten to the point that I even hate going to work for fear he will secretly take off with the kids and I won't see them for a long time or ever?
Yes.
Did that conversation continue?
Yeah, we had multiple conversations about that. Yes.
And did she say this to you? I truly believe Tim has serious mental health problems and he is becoming more vengeful and unpredictable, and it scares me. But I'm scared to even try to get an order of protection because it will piss him off and he will try to punish me somehow. And I don't think an order of protection will be issued because they will say his violent outbursts have not been egregious enough and incidents have been stretched out over too long of a period. Temporary custody has not even been set yet because we haven't been to court. And I don't even have exclusive possession of our house, so I can't even legally keep him away from me or the kids. Plus, if I ask for an order of protection, I won't be able to come see my children at his house anymore, and he may cut off their communication with me while they are there. And that scares me too. Did she say that to you?
Yes.
Did she then say to you, it is a fucking nightmare.
Yes, she did.
Ms. Spots, after receiving those messages, did you call the police on behalf of your friend of 10 years?
I did not.
Did you call anyone associated with law enforcement on behalf of your friend of 10 years?
No, I did not.
Did you call her parents?
I didn't know Becky's parents. No,
Did you call an attorney?
no.
Thank you, Ms. Spots.
Mhm.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Ms. Schnock.
Thank you. Ms. Spots, I just have a few questions for you,
Okay.
okay? Your message, or these messages that were sent on June 4th, 2021, that was in relative short proximity to the time the divorce started, correct?
Correct. That's why I reached out to her on Facebook. For some reason, I'd lost her phone number in my phone. That's why I contacted her on Facebook, yeah.
And during this time in June of 2021, everything was up in the air with respect to who was going to have the boys and when. And,
Yes.
And who was going to live where and what, nothing had been decided at that point, correct?
Correct.
And so that was unsettling.
Yes.
Okay. And as far as your involvement, you knew Tim prior to the divorce too, correct?
Yes.
And once the divorce has started, you became a lot closer with Becky, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and did you maintain your friendship with Tim, or did you distance yourself with Tim after the divorce was filed?
I didn't have a relationship with Tim.
To begin with?
Yeah, I mean, when we were at CrossFit, yeah, but
But you did not know
since
him-
then, no.
Did you
no.
know him outside of CrossFit?
Yes.
Okay, did
yeah.
you guys hang out socially?
No.
Okay. No other questions, Judge.
Okay.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step
Thank you.
down.
Would release Ms. Spots from her subpoena, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, you are free to go. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the people would call Melissa Young.
Ma'am, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom. All right, if you'd raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Okay, if you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. And then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, okay?
Okay.
And then bend that microphone up a little bit so it's in front of you. And then speak towards the microphone, please.
Okay.
All right, you
Thank you.
may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, ma'am?
Melissa Young.
Ms. Young, how are you employed?
I'm a nurse.
Did you know Becky Bliefnick?
Yes, I worked with her, and she was also one of my job shadow at Blessing. Sorry.
Sorry, you have to tell me what you mean by job.
It's okay. I was a nurse in the baby field, and she shadowed me for many shifts. Sorry.
And you said that you later worked with her when she actually became a nurse. When was that?
Oh, goodness. It's been almost 3 to 4 years ago now.
Did you, on January 5th, 2023, run into Becky?
Yes.
And where was that at?
TJ Maxx.
You guys just happened to see each other at TJ Maxx on that day?
Yes.
When you saw her, tell us, how did Becky appear to you at that time?
She looked very mentally and emotionally exhausted. Nothing like I used to see her. She was really in hopes to, get the divorce over with and stuff.
Did you talk about the divorce that she was going through?
In great detail, yes.
During those discussions about the divorce, did Becky tell you that she felt as though Tim could snap at any moment?
Yes.
Did she also tell you that she had found out that Tim was hiding money?
Yes.
And did she actually show you screenshots on her phone of how she had found that out?
Yes.
Did she also tell you that Tim had told her, you'll be dead before you have any of my money?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, those statements were allowed over the objection of the defendant pretrial. The court would again overrule that objection, and for the same reasons the court stated pretrial. And then Ms. Schnock, you may cross.
Did Becky tell you when that statement was made that you're not going to get away with my money?
No, I don't have a specific date on that.
And do you know Tim personally?
No.
Okay, so you're not friends with him?
No.
You do not hang out socially?
No.
Have you ever met him before?
No.
And prior to January 5th, 2023, when would have been the last time you would have seen her prior to that date?
About 3 years prior.
3 years prior?
Mm-hmm.
So you had not seen Becky for 3 years prior to January 5th, 2023, correct? And then she unloads on you in the middle of TJ Maxx about her divorce.
Yes.
You didn't find that odd?
I did find it odd.
Okay.
She asked for prayers. She knew I was a believer.
No other questions, Judge?
Any other questions?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, you may step down. And is she released from her subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
You're free to go, ma'am.
People would call Amanda Keck.
Ma'am, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom. And then raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in a cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
If you'll come around here and have a seat right here. And then scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable and bend the microphone in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please. You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name?
Amanda Keck.
Get a little closer to that
Sorry.
microphone. All right, one
Here we
more
go.
time.
Amanda Keck.
There we go. Ms. Keck, what do you do for a living?
I am the records supervisor at Quincy Police Department.
As record supervisor, do you and other individuals in that records room also answer phones for the police department from time to time?
We do.
On February 10th, 2023, at around 9:30 a.m., was there a phone call that came into the Quincy Police Department?
Yes, there was.
Who actually answered that phone in the records department?
Our receptionist.
And is her name Lynn Mann?
It is, yes.
When she answered it, did she answer it on the handset or did she put it on speaker?
It was on speakerphone. She was training.
Did you hear the conversation at that point?
I could, yes.
Did the voice on the other end of the line identify themselves?
They did.
What did they say?
He said, "My name is Tim Bliefnick."
After saying that his name was Tim Bliefnick, did he say why he was calling the police department?
He did. He said he had a gun that he needed to return to his ex-wife.
Did he go on to say why he was calling the police because he had a gun that he needed to return to his ex-wife?
He did. He said that he did not want to give it to that crazy bitch.
After he said that I don't want to give it to that crazy bitch, what was done with the phone call?
The phone call was transferred to the watch commander.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Schnock.
Thank you. Ms. Keck, it was not specified during this conversation what type of firearm Tim was attempting to return to his ex-wife, correct?
That is correct.
So if it was a CZ or a Luger or an AR, that was never discussed between you and Tim, correct?
That's correct.
He was simply asking for assistance in returning a firearm to Becky.
That is correct.
Okay. No other questions?
Any redirect?
He didn't call her Becky, did he?
He said ex-wife.
And he called her a crazy bitch.
That is correct.
That's all the questions I have.
You may step down.
Thank you.
People would call Shannon Hilkington.
If you'll step to the front of the courtroom, raise your right hand, and be sworn.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, come around here and have a seat right here. Scoot up to the table and bend the microphone down. You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Shannon Pilkington.
Mr. Pilkington, what do you do for a living?
I'm a lieutenant for the Quincy Police Department.
How long have you done that?
As lieutenant, about a year.
Lieutenant Pilkington, as a lieutenant, were you in the Quincy Police Department on February 10th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.?
Yes, I man the watch commander's office.
What's a watch commander?
The watch commander is in charge of the patrol shift. So I got computer screens in front of me. I make sure where my officers are. So I basically run the shift for the day and answer the phones.
Did you get a phone call, or was a phone call transferred to you at around 9:30 a.m. on February 10th, 2023?
Yes, phone call was transferred to me from the records department.
Did you talk to the person on the phone?
The person on the phone, yes, he identified himself as Tim Bliefnick.
Did he tell you why he was calling? What was the purpose of his call?
He said he had a court order to give his soon-to-be ex-wife a gun.
Did he describe in that conversation the divorce?
Yeah, he said it was brutal and contentious.
Did he tell you why, under the court order, he felt like he now needed to provide the gun?
That she had proof that she had a gun safe now to put the gun into.
He said that she had proof that she had a gun safe?
Yes.
And she had provided proof?
Yes.
Did he tell you why he was asking the police department to be involved in this return of that firearm?
He did not want to do a face-to-face handing of the gun to her because he did not feel safe.
Did he in fact say he was scared of what she might do if he met with her face-to-face?
Yes, he did.
At that point, did you tell him that it was not feasible for the police department to be involved in the return of the weapon?
Correct.
And the phone calling?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I have.
Questions, Ms. Schnock?
Was the type of gun that Mr. Bliefnick attempting to return to Ms. Bliefnick specified during that conversation?
It was not.
Okay, so whether he was trying to return a CZ or a Luger or an AR or any other firearm, you have no idea what that would be?
I don't know what type of gun. He did not say.
Okay. And he did indicate that he was attempting to fulfill an obligation under a court order?
Yes, he was.
And was it just simply asking if QPD could assist him with that?
That is correct.
Okay, no other questions, Judge.
Further questions?
Nothing else here.
You may step
All
down.
right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, that's all we had scheduled for today.
Judge, I added witnesses to the witness list to try to avoid this, and once again, I failed, so.
Well, actually, I look at it that we're doing a terrific job because we're getting the witnesses taken care of. But first, I want to, before we adjourn, I want to explain something to the jury because you may have questions. As you notice, there were several times when we allowed evidence that I made reference to objections that were made pre-trial to evidence. There are some things that we must hear before the trial to determine if evidence is going to be admitted, and objections are made to that evidence. We had a full hearing, or hearings actually, on different evidence prior to trial. and the court made rulings as to that evidence. Some of the evidence was admitted, some of the evidence was not admitted. The evidence that was admitted is being presented to you in court. Evidence that the court did not admit then cannot be presented in open court. And so when the court made reference to admitting evidence that there had previously been an objection to, the court was making reference to that prior hearing so that we did not have to argue the objection each time as to each piece of evidence. So if you're somewhat confused about that, it was admitted after a hearing, and you should consider only evidence that was presented in court, and you should disregard, or you shouldn't consider whether or not a certain piece of evidence was admitted or not admitted. And so I would just try and inform you as to that so you're not confused as to why we went about the procedure that we did to not argue those objections. They had previously been stated, and we argued them previously. And then with that, I would tell you that we are finished for today. You may go about your regular business, and I would admonish you that you should not do any independent investigation or research on any subject or person relating to the case. What you may have seen or heard outside the courtroom is not evidence. This includes any press, radio, or television programs. It also includes any information available on the internet. Such programs, reports, and information are not evidence, and your verdict must not be influenced in any way by such material. You must not use the internet, including Google, Wikipedia, or any other sources that you might otherwise use to search for any information about the case or the law which applies to the case or the people involved in the case, including the defendant, witnesses, lawyers, and judge. Do not communicate with, provide information personally, in writing, or electronically to anyone about this case, not only your own, not even your own family or friends, courtroom personnel, and also not even among yourselves until instructed otherwise. You must not provide any information about the case to anyone by any means at all. This includes posting information about the case or your thoughts about it on any device or internet site, including blogs, chat rooms, or any social networking websites such as Twitter, Facebook, or any other means. You cannot use any electronic devices or services to communicate about this case, including cell phones, smartphones, laptops, the internet, or any other tools of technology. The use of any such devices or services in connection with your duties is prohibited. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if you could be in the jury assembly room by 10 till 9 tomorrow morning, and we will get started right at 9, all right? And you are excused.
Gentlemen, please rise.
Okay, we should.
All right, council, let's meet at 8:30 again to make sure there's no issues before we start. Anything you need to bring up before we adjourn, Mr. Jones?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we will be adjourned for today.